Yeah, I don't want that, especially if there's vocals coming up. I might just skip this song too. Get that get them vocal tracks. Crap. GG playlist, you got me. Anyways, also like the part where I'm like really trying to like wrap my head around a little bit. I'm gonna read this part and then explain. Probably here supposed to do this. 6 abilities provide a quick description of every creature's physical and mental characteristics. Starting with strength, measuring physical power. That makes sense. Big guns are goodly for power. Dexterity, measuring agility. It's kind of redundant in its own way. I should also make sure to mute this. It's going away. Oh, there we go. Just so you guys don't get a bunch of bloopy bloops. So dexterity, measuring agility. That's like weird to me because it basically means the same thing. What is dexterity? Agility. What is agility? Speed. What is speed? Nimbleness. So it's like, yeah, constitution, measuring endurance. I guess that helps, I guess. You know. Intelligence, measuring reasoning and memory. Okay, that makes sense. Wisdom, measuring perception and insight. Okay, that makes sense. How are you? Oh, wisdom is almost more like just your general ability use. I'm dropping frames, what? Oh, wait. Reagan was just mentioning. I have a Vermintide downloading. I should pause that anyways. Alright, so wisdom is like overall just more like your senses, your awareness of things around you, also reading body language, stuff like that. Intelligence is like logic, math, mental reasoning, memory. That makes sense. Charisma, force, measuring force of personality. I guess that would just basically be narcissism to an extent. High powered. It's like if you had all these abilities maxed out, you would actually have start to see penalties in other areas. Because if you had too much strength, you lose dexterity. If you have too much dexterity, you lose like constitution or strength because your joints are all messed up. I don't know about, it's probably something with constitution too, right? Probably. Um, Too much intelligence, you recall things so much that you can't live in the moment. Too much wisdom, you have a hard time, dealing with everything. And then your charisma, you can't talk to people. Too much charisma, you lose wisdom because you're not paying attention around. You're just browbeating them with your charismatic personality. Okay, so that's why it's like I'm trying to wrap my head around this a bit because some of these scores seem like if you had too much of them, you would actually start to see drawbacks in real life. But this isn't real life. This is fantasy world. That's why anime characters are basically D&D and vice versa. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. But it talks about ability scores. I kind of went through this already, so I'm not going to go over this too much right now. But I do want to go into like some of the checks in particular. Like this is something I'm trying to wrap my head around. Strength measures bodily will, athletic training, and extent to which you can exert raw physical force. A strength check can model any attempt to lift, push, pull, or break something, to force your body through a space, or to otherwise apply brute force to a situation. There's one part in there to force your body through a space. I feel like that still could be a dex check. And they also do mention this too, so that's why I feel like me trying to analyze this is even out of the realm of what they would expect a little bit, so. Charisma is also confidence. Yeah, that's That's a better way to put it. Thank you, Drake. And charisma is confidence, not necessarily narcissism, but it can be when you have too much charisma. Ugh. Strength check can model any attempt to lift, push, pull. Oh yeah, because the force through a body through a space. That sounds like dexterity too, because dexterity is your overall. It is like somewhat hand-eye coordination, but it's also just flexibility. And that seems like you can make a force check with dexterity there. Um, Athletic strength covers difficult situation. I'm not going to read these so much, but they were mentioning too in there that you could use constitution as an athletics test if you're doing a long, like an endurance check, like marching check, which would make sense. also weird too when you apply that dexterity is your ability to avoid damage, and constitution is your ability to take damage, which is a little weird because constitution seems like it measures more just your overall stamina, and hit points in themselves are your ability to avoid damage anyway, so that's like dexterity. So it's weird to wrap my head around that, so I need to kind of actually try to figure out how to compartmentalize that in my head, because I keep getting hung up on, well, dexterity could be that, but constitution could be that. So I need to actually try to restrain that a little bit in my head. But I also like to nitpick logic in a lot of things anyways. Like in video games. Like Dark Souls. Why is it when I parry the sword as it's hitting, like if I aim my shield to parry the blade itself, I don't parry the blade. It makes a clinking sound and I get stabbed. And like in games like what's that called? Celeste, when you're on a moving object and it stops and you jump off, you get a momentum boost. However, your best momentum boost is actually waiting until right after it stops and then you jump. And that to me feels like I'm getting punished for trying to jump too early, trying to jump where the momentum makes sense. And that's why I didn't get it. It bothered me a bit. Just like the small little nitpick. Overall, the game was really fun, but it was a major nitpick I had, especially when they use it a lot in later levels. The actual bonus levels, they'd use it a lot, and I'm like, I hate this mechanic so much. The brain is telling me this is wrong. Yeah, anyways, let's go to dexterity. Okay, dexterity measures agility, reflexes, and balance. Okay, that kind of makes sense. A dexterity check can model any attempt to move nimbly, quickly, or quietly, or to keep from falling on tricky footing. Oh, Dragon also shared me a meme. Maybe I'll check this out quick too. I don't know what that is, but she probably understands better than I do. A dexterity check can model any attempt to move nimbly, quickly, or quietly, or to keep from falling on tricky footing. The acrobat's sleight of hand and stealth checks reflect aptitude in certain kinds of dexterity. Already getting dry mouth, guys. If I should actually chew some gum. I mean, that makes sense with dexterity. Dexterity is also used for like finesse, ranged attacks, and it's a full shot. Yeah, I kind of figured that part, but I don't know what that quote's from. Yeah, I'll share the meme in my I'll share the meme in my Discord. Copy image. Yeah, let's do it. Ayo. Hey Dion, so to help me understand the Constitution in abstract, it's a measure of as a well-oiled machine. How? I mean, yeah. That part I get. Also, hi Dion, how you doing? The tricky part is trying to make sure not to compartmentalize it onto too many things that other stats do, and vice versa. And that's the thing I need to try to remind myself, because it's so easily I want to be like, well, strength should determine hit points, and dexterity should determine ability to get through space, and constitution should determine how much your character is too angry to die, and like it's a little weird trying to place it all around my head. Okay, where were we at? Did just do dexterity, acrobats. Constitution measures health, stamina, and vital force. Constitution checks are uncommon, and no skills apply to constitution checks because the endurance this ability represents is largely passive rather than involving a specific effort on the part of the character or monster. A constitution check can model your attempt to push beyond normal limits, however. The DM might call for a constitution check when you try to accomplish tasks like the following: hold your breath, march or labor for hours without rest, go without sleep, survive without food or water, quaff, I said it right this time, Dragon, quaff an entire stein of ale in one go. So that does make sense. It's the hit points thing is just the weirdest part to me, because that is determined by your hit points. But well, I guess that's why. Well, yeah, that is why certain characters like fighters have more hit points, because they know how to avoid damage. And constitution in general, stamina in general, is important to to be looked at as like stamina. Yeah, I was just about to say, if you have good stamina, you will be able to consistently avoid taking hits because you're consistently able to keep moving. And hit points in that case could just be represented as complete exhaustion when you're at low hit points. Like you've avoided most of the major hits, but you are exhausted. Your character's not that big and bulky. They're just really good at continually keeping out of the way of stuff. There's not, yeah, there is not a stamina bar. I did want to add a magic points. Like, one of my problems with this too is I keep wanting to retcon stuff too much, but I do want to add a magic point system. Mostly because I don't think anybody likes the spell slot system. But yeah, that was exactly what I was about to, or I was thinking there too, Dihan. Like, it is kind of a stamina bar in its own right. So, intelligence measures. This is also where a lot of the confusing stuff gets in between intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Because just the way they're utilized, like it kind of makes sense, but other times it's like just leapfrogging each other. They do have an exhausted mechanic, so yeah, I would just something I have to read up more too before I worry about all this other stuff too much. But intelligence measures mental acuity, accuracy of recall, and the ability to reason. An intelligence check comes into play when you need to draw on logic, education, memory, deductive reasoning. The arcana, history, investigation, nature, and religion skills reflect aptitude in certain kinds of intelligence checks. This does, overall make sense. One of my biggest issues with that is I feel like medicine should be an intelligence check. Maybe back in the day, they relied on people who were aware of body language and stuff. But nowadays, we realize that just got people killed. And if you don't actually have a strong recollection of medicine, it doesn't matter how insightful you are to the person having a tummy ache if you don't know how to fix the tummy ache, So there's usually large time arguing in some groups. That makes sense. Yeah, I guess at that point too, a lot of this is legacy that they're dealing with, because a cleric to me feels like they should have intelligence because of they're basically medics, doctors. So kinds of games are nice though. You don't have to use all the magics if you don't want to while keeping others. Yeah, over encumbrance. That's why I'm going to make the Resident Evil inventory system. Just all squares. Oh. Okay, so let's go to wisdom. Also, spellcasting ability. Wizards use intelligence as their spellcasting ability, which helps determine the saving throw DCs of the spells they cast. That is also weird to me because if I were to actually, well, no, that makes sense. But if I were to look like trying to relate certain classes to real life scenarios to kind of help me evaluate them more, I think wizards would just be tech enthusiasts for the most part, like interested in magical items. And right now, I'm talking to you through some strange magic orb that transfers little bits of energy through this cable to that computer through the internet to you. Yeah, wizards are basically just big tech nerds, is how I'm looking at it right now. So that makes sense for wizards. But I also feel like for a doctor, intelligence is pretty handy. It's pretty key. Wisdom, super handy also. Like you need to be able to actually wisdom and charisma actually for a cleric. Intelligence is book smarts, wisdom, street smarts, or life smarts. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. Using the weird math to cast spells for them to be using int. Plus, a lot of it is stuff they've learned, kind of like just learning what materials work together. So a lot of that is recollection. So that makes sense for wizards. However, let's get to wisdom here. Wisdom reflects how attuned you are to the world around you and represents perceptiveness and intuition, which, yeah, you notice noises going on behind you, you're like, oh, is that danger? Seeing if someone's nervous or something like that, reading body language, stuff like that. Wisdom check might reflect an effort to read body language, understand someone's feelings, notice things about the environment, or care for an injured person. Animal handling still makes sense because you are effectively trying to read the animal's body language. So leaning to wizards using old runes, intelligence makes sense for wizards. Yep. I just look at old runes and magical items as being the tech items of those days. So if you like Linus Sebastian from Linus Tech Tips, he's just a wizard, just the hugest wizard. Not even he's pretty short overall, but definitely a wizard. Linus Sebastian is a wizard. Maybe a warlock, maybe both cross class. Anyways, so that part makes sense. I still like survival, perception, insight, that all makes sense. Medicine is where I'm like, I know that's probably legacy is why they have that there, but I really feel like medicine should be an intelligence check if I'm going to relate it all to real life at all, because I know they would drain the humors of presidents that got him killed. So yeah, I really feel like if there was some things I would do as far as a quick adjustment, I would probably just take a cleric and change their main stat to be intelligence. Because yeah, I think it's because the fantasy world there is no doctors. True, but I'm gonna nerd this up if I want to make some decent retcons. But yeah, I get what you're saying there too. There's technically no real doctors, but they're more wise men who learn from trial and error. That still sounds like intelligence to me though, because like intelligence is the memory recall, and wisdom is more so how attuned you are into the moment, if that makes any sense. Like intelligence is how much trial and error that you've gathered and your memory recalls those instances, whereas wisdom still relies most largely on being in the moment, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's definitely not a one-to-one, but that's how I look at it too. Intelligence is learning from your past mistakes. Wisdom is being involved in the moment, and charisma is about throwing your middle fingers up and telling everyone get good. And you can have a blend of that, obviously, but charisma measures your ability. Ooh, let's get to this. Also, spellcasting. Clerics, druids, rangers use wisdom as their spellcasting ability to help determine the saving throw DCs of spells they cast. This makes a lot of sense for druids and rangers, who, like, rangers are basically scouts in that they're constantly trying to be with their surroundings. Druids too deal with animals a lot, and that kind of makes sense to me. But clerics and druid do a lot of healing. Yeah, they are similar enough too, so I probably don't even need to worry about it. But yeah, and that still makes sense too. Like I can't say wisdom isn't there too, but as far as me trying to compartmentalize it, I feel like the strong sense of like intelligence and wisdom are basically the same thing, and you just flip a coin who it relies on more, or who it relates to more. Well, not all the time, but a good portion of the time. Okay, charisma. Charisma measures your ability to interact effectively with others. It includes such factors as confidence and eloquence, and it can represent a charming or commanding personality. Shoutouts to your favorite YouTuber, guys. A charisma check might arise when you try to influence or entertain others, when you try to make an impression or tell a convincing lie, or when you are navigating a tricky social situation. So I'm just going to say this right now. If you had a halfling bard trying to intimidate a half-orc barbarian, I feel like most DMs would be like, "Yeah, you're doing that at disadvantage, You unless if you're trying to do it via raw strength, yeah, you're doing that at disadvantage. Maybe the halfling can use trickery to intimidate him, but like he's holding a gun up to him like Gizmo. Did I use 3 fully charged shots? Only 2. Said Gizmo before he blasted Batman. Gizmo is such a bard. Was it not 20? I mean, yeah, that part would be fine. Yeah, that part makes sense. That dude, like that halfling, all of a sudden he just gets like vein bulgy, crazy eyes, crazy grin, and he's holding up his crossbow, and that half orc is like, okay, I'm backing up. Hold up. I think if you think of wisdom as how naive you are, you aren't, and intelligence is how many books you've read. That might help. Yeah, yeah. I can. That's still a little hard for me to piece together right now, but that probably makes sense. It's something that you try to think about more, because you. How naive? Because we give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that would also be a good way to look at it. Yeah, I smell what you're stepping in there. Okay, spellcasting for charisma. Bards, paladins, sorcerers, and warlocks use charisma. Now this is the part where I'm like, nope, nope. Bards make sense. They're kind of just like they're encouraging their teammates all the time is kind of their whole thing. Kind of their deal. They're support units. Paladins are technically, public defenders. So they're kind of like they assert their authority. So it kind of makes sense. Uh, Sorcerers are born with magical powers. And I know I was already thinking it should be wisdom for that. Dragon shared Brendan Lee Mulligan thing where he read a thing on it should be Constitution. I don't know the original source, but even then, that makes more sense to me than charisma because I feel like any sorcerer relying on charisma is just gonna burn out immediately. Like they are just lying to themselves the whole time. They are asserting their authority. So yeah, that is just like the worst the worst choice for like I feel like strength, constitution, intelligence, wisdom would be higher priority than charisma, as far as I'm concerned. That is a choice. That is a choice, Wizards of the Coast. That is a choices were made. Um, I'll try to find characters to give you some examples at some time. Yeah, that's fair. And that would actually be handy too, because I'm already related to Gizmo, so getting some good evaluations on that. I can't wait to make a Smash Bros. Variant of this too. I should also F11 this page. Hold up. Also, how's the music, guys? Requests are open if you're interested. I also made a whole bunch of characters that was spitballing ideas for different reasons. They wanted to have the 3 spell powerhouses run on different stats. Yeah, but there's also warlocks in there who use charisma. So there's like four people who use charisma. There's one person uses intelligence. Technically one powerhouse on the wisdom stat, so yeah. Wait, druid is more magical than yeah, that probably makes sense. Again, I still say you could move clerics to int with the wizard, offensive and defensive magic. Druids and rangers on wisdom, sure. But then you could also have sorcerers, druids, and them and that. And then you have bards, warlocks, and paladins on charisma. I feel like to be a little better balance as far as I'm concerned, but I also need to understand the characters a little better anyways, so that's still, yeah, it's still something to figure out. But then again, there's a lot I still need to read, so I still say warlocks are fine with charisma too. Well, I shouldn't say like I'm an authority. I still agree warlocks should be charisma because they make a deal with the devil. They are the deal makers. They're not. Yeah, it's kind of the whole thing. So, yep. So yeah, that was kind of the part I was getting to. I guess next I'm going to go on to. Well, I guess I should read about the characters, the classes in general. It'd probably be a good idea, right? Because if I'm gonna try to figure out what classes do what, should read more on the classes themselves. Oh, I'm gonna need water here shortly already. Coffee will do. Got creatine. It's good for you. So, barbarian, fierce warrior of primitive background who can enter battle rage. E12. Also, because last time I played, last time I played this game was like 3.5, something like that. Um, and so I was pointing out to Dragon too. Wizard no longer uses a D4, which probably makes sense because D4 is 1/4 a barbarian. So yeah, that makes sense. Rogue is a D8, Warlock D8, Monk D8. There's a lot of D8s here actually. That makes sense though, because the idea of these characters is they're better at avoiding damage. That's kind of their thing. Excuse me. So it also makes sense why they offset Constitution along with the fact of just battle awareness. So that makes sense. Like a barbarian's whole thing is that he's just in there without armor, but he's what's the word? Compensating? Yeah, that's probably the word. But yeah, fierce warrior, primitive background who can endure battle rage, barbarian. Um, actually, I shouldn't read this part. Let's just go ahead and actually, I don't know what I would read on these guys. There's so many features on them, right? There's like a whole little description. Then you have people in towns and cities take pride. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of reading here. All right, let's read the barbarian. A tall human tribesman strides through a blizzard, draped in fur and hefting his axe. He laughs as he charges toward the frost giant who dared poach his people's elk herd. A half-orc snarls at the latest challenger to her authority over the savage tribe, ready to break his neck with her bare hands as she did the last 6 rivals. Dang, she sounds scary. Just like, I'm not gonna make that joke. Frothing at the mouth, a dwarf slams his helmet into the face of his drow foe, then turns to drive his armored elbow into the gut of another. These barbarians, different as they might be, are defined by their rage, unbridled, unquenchable, and unthinking fury. More than a mere emotion, their anger is a ferocity of a cornered predator, the unrelenting assault of a storm, the churning turmoil of the sea. Also, did I read that part? Yeah, I did. Okay, just want to make sure. For some, their rage springs from a communion with fierce animal spirits. Others draw from a roiling reservoir of anger at a world full of pain. For every barbarian, rage is a power that fuels not just a battle frenzy, but also uncanny reflexes, resilience, and feats of strength. I think there's really not much to worry about there, I guess, as far as what defines a barbarian. It seems pretty straightforward. This dude be swinging. This dude be Shaggy. Well, yeah, Shaggy is a barbarian. Yeah, if we relate this to multiverses, hold up. Hold up, I got an idea now. Haha. Hold up, let me just. Year Maker. It's bright, dog. Multiverses. Versu. That'll probably work, right? Alright, so also let's do this as presentation mode. Ain't nobody like bright mode, I hope. Barbarian. So right now, characters we definitely know are a barbarian. We got Shaggy. This is going to help me mostly. I was making sure which stuff. Okay. Oh, where was I? So Shaggy definitely a barbarian, right? I think that makes sense. Anybody else a barbarian? I mean, Taz kind of a barbarian. We'll leave that alone for now. We know that Taz the barbarian. Yeah, we know that Taz the barbarian. All right. Okay, primal instinct. People of the towns and cities take pride in how their civilized ways set them apart from animals, as if denying one's own nature was a mark of superiority. To a barbarian, though, civilization is no virtue, but a sign of weakness. That's such a Shaggy. This dude just wants sandwiches and Scooby snacks. The strong embrace of their animal nature, keen instincts, primal physicality, and ferocious rage. Barbarians are uncomfortable when hedged in by walls and crowds. They thrive in the wilds of their homelands, the tundra, jungle, or grasslands where their tribes live and hunt. Barbarians come alive in the chaos of combat. They can enter a berserk state when rage takes over, giving them superhuman strength and resiliency. A barbarian can draw on this reservoir of fury only a few times without resting, but these few rages are usually sufficient to defeat whatever threats arise. I'm not sure we have too many barbarians in this game. We'll see, though. We'll see. Not every member of the tribes deemed barbarians by scions of civilized society. Not every member of the tribes deemed barbarians by scions of civilized societies has the barbarian class. A true barbarian among these people is as common as a skilled fighter in a town, and he or she plays a similar role as a protector of the people and leader in times. Life in the wild places the world is fraught with peril. The world is fraught, yeah. Rival tribes, deadly weather, and terrifying monsters. Barbarians charge headlong into that danger so that other people don't have to. It kind of doesn't work with the courage of Shaggy, huh? Their courage in the face of danger makes barbarians perfectly suited for adventuring. Wandering is often a way of life for the native tribes, and the rootless life of adventurer is little hardship for a barbarian. Some barbarians miss the close-knit family structures of the tribe, but eventually find them replaced by the bonds formed among the members of their adventuring parties. Okay. When creating a barbarian character, think about where your character comes from and his or her place in the world. Talk to your demon about an appropriate origin for your barbarian. Did you come from a distant land, making you a stranger in the area of the campaign? Or is the campaign set in a rough and tumble frontier where barbarians are common? Okay, I still don't have much to add to that right now. It seems mostly like they're semi-loners, but also kind of rebels, but also kind of reliables. What led you to take up the adventuring life? Where were you lured to settle lands by the promise of riches? Did you join forces with soldiers of those to face a shared threat? Did monsters or an invading horde drive you out to the homeland, making you a rootless refugee? Perhaps you were a prisoner of war, brought in chains to civilized lands, and only now able to win your freedom. Or you might have been cast out by your people because of a crime you committed, a taboo you violated, or a coup that removed you from the position of authority. Quick build. You can make a barbarian quickly by following these suggestions. First, put your highest ability score in strength, followed by constitution. Second, choose the outlander background. Okay, so they tend to be like hermits, outlanders, rebels, people against the grain. As a barbarian, you gain the following class features. Hit dice, 1d12 per barbarian level. Hit points at first level, 12 plus your constitution modifier. Hit points at higher levels. I don't need to read all that. I could just read the first part of that. Proficiencies, light armor, medium armor, shields. Weapons, simple weapons, martial weapons. Tools, none. Saving throws, strength, constitution. Skills, choose from 2. Animal handling, choose 2 from. Animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. That's like the general idea of a barbarian. I'm not going to read like all of their characteristics, but I kind of want to just kind of give myself an idea what to expect from each character. I should definitely get more water. I already need so much water, so yeah, I will be right back. I can't put my book anywhere. Can I just Alright, I'm back. Dragon was taking care of something, so now Martha's upset that she's not paying attention to her. Alright, now we're gonna read up on the bard here so I can kind of get a pretty good idea of how this character is. Haven't had much to add yet because Barbarian's pretty straightforward as far as the type of character. Bard is one that's like super confusing, but if I were to relate myself to a character, it would probably be a bard. A character who's never really in combat. That or a wizard because I like computers and stuff, so. I'm a bard wizard. Humming as she traces her fingers. Oh, you can also. There we go. Humming as she traces her fingers over an ancient monument in a long forgotten ruin, a half-elf in the rugged leathers finds knowledge springing into her mind, conjured forth by the magic of her song, knowledge of the people who constructed the monument, and the mythic saga it depicts. Excuse me. A stern human warrior bangs his sword rhythmically against his scale, setting the temple for his war chant. Bang. A stern human warrior setting the temple for his war chant and exhorting his companions to bravery and heroism. The mage of his song fortifies and emboldens them. Oh, okay. So a bard can also just be a... Okay, basically people who are very... You're wholesome people, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, laughing as she turns to Cittern to her Cittern. Cittern? Cittern. That's a word I've never actually seen before, so I'm actually gonna Google that here quick. Cittern. Kids these days with their duck duck goes. A 16th century guitar. Ah, that's right. There's a lot of instruments in here I'm not super familiar with, so that checks out. All right. You got me. You. All right. Where were we? Cittern. I didn't see if that's how it's pronounced. I'm guessing it is. A gnome weaves her subtle magic over the assembled nobles, ensuring that her companions' words will be well received. Whether scholar, skald, or scoundrel, a bard weaves magic through words and music to inspire allies, demoralize foes, manipulate minds, create illusions, and even heal wounds. Okay, so yeah, it checks out with the charisma stuff too. Yeah. In the worlds of D&D, words and music are not just vibrations of air, but vocalizations with power all their own. The bard is a master of song, speech, and the magic they contain. Bards say that the multiverse was spoken into existence, that the words of the gods gave it shape, and that echoes of these primordial words of creation still resound throughout the cosmos. The music of bards is an attempt to snatch the harness those echoes subtly woven into their spells and powers. The greatest strength of bards is their sheer versatility. Many bards prefer to stick to the sidelines in combat, using their magic to inspire their allies and hinder their foes from a distance. I feel like I should get some gum. My mouth is just so dry. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. We'll get some gum in my mouth. Hopefully it won't be too smacky, but less smacky anyways with my mouth. Alright, get my thing there. Alright, so obviously Gizmo is a bard. Let's just get this out of the way. Gizmo a bard. We all know it. Gizmo a bard. Okay, this does have Black Adam, I was gonna say. I like the crop job they did for these guys. Gizmo is definitely a bard. Anybody contest that? That's what I thought. I don't know, you might have wasn't paying attention. Where's my camera big? Alright, what are we working on now? The greatest strength of bards is their sheer versatility. Where was I? It's probably somewhere around there. The greatest strength of bards is their sheer versatility. Many bards prefer to stick to the sidelines in combat, using their magic to inspire their allies and hit their foes from a distance. That also sounds like how I kind of try to play games. Mid-range, just kind of in and out until he checks out why I like Gizmo. But bards are capable of defending themselves in melee if necessary, using their magic to bolster their swords and armor. Their spells lean toward charms and illusions, rather than blatantly destructive spells. They have a wide-ranging knowledge of many subjects and natural aptitude that lets them do almost anything well. Bards become masters of the talent they set their minds to. Is that a squeaker? Dead, whatever it is. Melee setting, destructive spells, a wide range of knowledge in many subjects that natural aptitude lets them do almost anything well. Bards become masters of the talents that they set their minds to perfecting, from musical performance to esoteric knowledge. Okay. So yeah, if I were to put myself in a position, it'd be a bard. Hey, stop that. What class do you guys think you would be? Leave them in the chat. True bards are not common in the world. Not every minstrel singing in a tavern or jester cavorting in a royal court is a bard. Discovering the magic hidden in music requires hard study and some measure of natural talent that most troubadours and jongleurs lack. Hold up, I'm gonna look up. What are these words, man? What is this word again? Troubadours. Dang, we're just doing. Okay, guys, school's in session. Define troubadours. One of a class of 12th century and 13th century lyric poets in southern France, northern Italy, northern Spain, who composed songs in a language often by the courtly love. That did not help me. That did not help me. Jongleurs. They're making that word up, is what I'm gonna say. Hey, I didn't spell it right. Thanks, DuckDuckGo. Hi, Crim. How's it going? A jongleur. Jongleur? Jongleur. 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 A wandering minstrel poet or entertainer of medieval. Okay, we're back to France again. You guys just love France, man. Noted. Let's go back quick. I'm gonna do this too. Troubadour. Troubadour. Yes. I'll stop. Just like that button. Okay, so we stopped at the French things. It can be hard to spot the difference between these performers and true bards, though. A bard's life is spent wandering across the land, gathering lore, telling stories, and living on the gratitude of audiences, much like any other entertainer. But a depth of knowledge, a level of musical skill, and a touch of magic set bards apart from these fellows. Only rarely do bards settle in one place for long, and their natural desire to travel, to find new tales to tell, new skills to learn, and new discoveries beyond the horizon makes an adventuring career a natural calling. Every adventurer is an opportunity to learn, practice variety of skills, enter long forgotten tunes, discover lost. Dang, this does sound like me. I dabble way too much. Works of magic, decipher old tomes, travel to strange places, or encounter exotic creatures. Bards love to accompany heroes to witness their deeds firsthand. A bard who can tell an awe-inspiring story from personal experience earns renown among other bards. Hey guys, I got a story about how my brother beat Killer Instinct on the hardest difficulty before, without losing a life. And the game was like, dang, GG's, holy crap. This is some high level gaming you're doing there, bro. And we got that one. We only went firsthand there. Indeed, after telling so many stories about heroes accomplishing many deeds, many bards take these themes to heart and assume heroic roles themselves. Ah, it's cute. That's cute of me to do that, probably. Bards thrive on stories, whether those stories are true or not. The story's true, by the way. I'm not fibbing. Your character's background and motivations are not as important as the stories that he or she tells about them. Perhaps you had a secure and mundane childhood. There's no good story to be told about that. So you might paint yourself as an orphan raised by a hag in a dismal swamp. Or your childhood might be worthy of a story. Some bards acquire their magical music through extraordinary means, including the inspiration or fae or other supernatural creatures. Did you serve an apprenticeship, studying under a master, following the more experienced bard until you were ready to strike out on your own? Or did you attend a college where you studied bardic lore and practiced your musical magic? Perhaps you were a young runaway or orphan, befriended by a wandering bard who became your mentor. Or you might have been a spoiled noble child tutored by a master. Perhaps you stumbled into the clutches of a hag, making a bargain for a musical gift in addition to your life and freedom, but at what cost? Alright, quick build. You make a bard quickly by following the suggestions. First, charisma should be your highest ability score, followed by dexterity. Second, choose the entertainer background. Third, choose the dancing lights and vicious mockery cantrips, along with the following first level spells: charm person, detect magic, healing word, and thunder wave. Okay. That probably makes sense. Class features. As a bard, you gain the following class features: hit points, hit dice 1d8 per bard level. That's below average. That's a low average, I guess. A low average score. But I guess D8 is kind of average, I think. D10 is high, D8 average, D6 low, D12 is S plus, I guess. Would be the way to look at it, so yeah. I think that's the main thing that makes sense. You know what, in that case, Iron Giant, he a barbarian. He definitely a barbarian. He's too big to not be a barbarian. He'd just be swinging. Proficiencies: light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, short swords. Tools: 3 musical instruments of your choice. Saving throws: dexterity, charisma. Skills: choose any 3. Yeah, bards are just kind of a jack of all trades. So yeah, okay, let's go on to the next one now. They got a general idea of that character too. Next up, the cleric, the one that is very confusing to me. Like, I don't know, I feel like I want to relate them to like medics or doctors, or I guess it would be, as Dragon was saying, missionaries, I guess, is the idea. I guess I'm not as familiar with what missionaries would be like, stats wise, you know. Arms and eyes upraised toward the sun, and a prayer on his lips, an elf begins to glow with an inner light that spills out to heal his battle-worn companions. Okay. Chanting a song of glory, a dwarf swings his axe in wide swaths to cut through the ranks of orcs arrayed against him, shouting praise to the gods with every foe's fall. Calling down a curse upon the forces of undeath, a human lifts her holy symbol as light pours from it to drive back the zombies crowding in on her companions. Clerics are intermediaries between the mortal world and the distant planes of the gods. As varied as the gods they serve, clerics strive to embody the handiwork of their deities. No ordinary priest, a cleric is imbued with divine magic. So basically, clerics just have the power of God in them, is the general idea. Or some holy entity. Divine magic, as the name suggests, is the power of the gods, flowing from them into the world. Clerics are conduits for that power, manifesting it as miraculous effects. The gods don't grant this power to everyone who seeks it, but only the chosen to fulfill a high calling. Harnessing divine magic doesn't rely on study or training. Also, let me know if I should change the music at all, because I know there's like words back in the background, so I don't want to like overpowering that too. Yeah. I just tried doing some chill stuff. Oh, hi, Jinxie. They can provoke awe and dread, lay curses on of plague or poison, and even call down flames from heaven to consume their enemies. For those evildoers who will benefit most from a mace to the head, clerics depend on their combat training to let them wade through into melee with the power of gods on their side. So clerics are just kind of, they're just, I'm trying to figure this out. Kind of a weird one. The power of God. It also makes sense why it would be wisdom for like their general. Yeah, because they're not actually doctors. They have much different stuff going on. Intelligence could be beneficial for them as a class, but yeah, I can see why they do wisdom with the cleric. I still feel like we need like an intelligence healer at this point too, though, because like, yeah, yeah. All right. Not every acolyte or officiant at a temple or shrine is a cleric. Some priests are called to a simple life of temple service, carrying out their God's will through prayer and sacrifice, not by magic and strength not by magic and strength of arms. Hmm? Okay, I think I see what it's saying here. Okay, in some cities, priesthood amounts to a political office, vague as a stepping stone to higher positions of authority involving non-communion with a god at all. True clerics are rare in most hierarchies. Okay. When a cleric takes up an adventure life, it is usually because his or her god demands it. Pursuing the goals of the gods often involves braving dangers beyond the walls of civilization, smiting evil, and seeking holy relics in ancient tombs. Many clerics are expected to protect their deity's worshippers, which can mean fighting rampaging orcs, negotiating peace between warring nations, or sealing a portal that would allow a demon prince to enter the world. Yep, them dang demon princes. Most adventuring clerics maintain some connection to established temples and orders of their faith. A temple might ask a cleric's aid, or a high priest might be in a position to demand it. Okay. Yeah, I got an idea of a cleric then. Kind of an authority figure of their own right, I guess. I'm not sure much to relate to him right now, but I guess I get the general idea of them. As you create a cleric, the most important question to consider is which deity to serve and what principles you want your character to embody. Appendix B includes lists of many of the gods of the multiverse. Check with your GM to learn which deities are in your campaign. I guess this is why I always found clerics weird, because you like generally need a god to use a cleric. And yeah, I guess just the whole persona of a cleric, I've never had a good idea of how to create one, so. Yeah. Yeah. Once you've chosen a deity, consider your cleric's relationship to that god. Did you enter this service willingly, or did the god choose you, impelling you into a service with no regard for your wishes? How do the temple priests of your faith regard you, as a champion or a troublemaker? What are your ultimate goals? Does your deity have a special task in mind for you, or are you striving to prove yourself worthy of a great quest? You can make a cleric quickly by following these suggestions. First, wisdom should be your highest ability score. Yep, that makes sense. Followed by strength or constitution. Second, choose the acolyte background. I will say clerics do feel a little neglected. I think I was talking with Dragon about this a little bit because they still have D8 hit points. Yeah, so they're kind of like, I guess they have more spells than like a paladin or a ranger or that, but yeah. They're kind of just described as holy warriors, but they're more mid-range. It was a little weird, but maybe it's fine. Because yeah, hit dice 1d8 per cleric level. Proficiencies: light armor, medium armor, shields, simple weapons, saving throws, wisdom, charisma. Yeah, I guess they do have so many spells too. Yeah, they wanted to be more in between. They're not supposed to be super skilled with all sorts of weapons, so yeah, I guess I can see the vibe they're going for. So they, yeah, 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 that makes sense. Yeah, 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 yeah. Saving throws: wisdom, charisma, charisma. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I feel like intelligence too, but charisma makes sense. Skills: choose two from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. Equipment: you start with the following. Okay, I don't need to read that part. All right, so who do we think would be a cleric? Obvious. Yep. That's our first cleric. Rain Dog is a cleric. His god is player first games. I don't know. It's probably close enough. I almost want to put Black Adam somewhere in there right now, but that probably ain't right. All right. So that's our cleric of this group. There's a war domain. Dude, I'm going to have to go through these domains at some point, but that'll be a lot for right now. So next we're going on to a druid. Ooh. Alright. Druid. Holding high a gnarled staff, wreathed by holly, an elf summons the fury of the storm and calls down explosive bolts of lightning to smite the torch-carrying orcs who threaten her forest. Okay. I think the general idea of druids is to be kind of Wiccan based, of the earth. Approaching on a sight and on a high tree branch in the form of a leopard, a human peers out of the jungle at the strange construction of a temple of evil elemental air, keeping a close eye on the cultist activities. Swinging a blade formed of pure fire, a half-elf charges into a mass of skeletal soldiers, sundering the unnatural magic that gives the foul creatures the mocking semblance of life. Whether calling on the elemental forces of nature or emulating the creatures of the animal world, druids are the embodiment of nature's resilience, cunning, and fury. They claim no mastery over nature. Instead, they see themselves as extensions of nature's indomitable will. Okay. Druids, huh? I don't know if we have a druid in this cast over here. I mean, it could be Bugs. That dude changes his form all the time. You know, I'm leaning towards Bugs. All right. Where were we? Druids revere nature. Did I read this part already? Druids revere nature above all, gaining the spells and other magical powers either from the force of nature itself or from a nature deity. Many druids pursue a mystic spirituality of transcendent union with a nature rather than devotion to a divine entity, while others serve gods of wild nature, animals, or elemental forces. The ancient druidic traditions are sometimes called the Old Faith, in contrast to the worship of gods in temples and shrines. Druids are oriented toward nature and animals, the power of tooth and nail, of sun and moon, of fire and storm. Druids also gain the ability to take on animal forms, and some druids make a particular study of this practice, even to the point where they prefer animal form to their natural form. Okay. Yeah, I think we just do this. Here we go. That probably makes total sense. Preserve the balance. For druids, nature exists in precarious balance. The four elements that make up the world: air, earth, fire, and water. Ooh, Morty could totally be a druid, right? He's got dirt, fire, snakes, and plumbus. Must remain in equilibrium. If one element were to gain power over the others, the world could be destroyed, drawn into one of the elemental planes, and broken apart into the component elements. Thus, druids oppose cults of elemental evil and those who promote one element to the exclusion of others. Druids are also concerned with the delicate ecological balance that sustains plant and animal life, and the need for civilized folk to live in harmony with nature, not in opposition to it. Druids accept that which is cruel in nature, and they hate that which is unnatural, including aberrations such as beholders and mind flayers, and undead such as zombies and vampires. Druids sometimes lead raids against such creatures, especially when the monsters encroach on the druids' territory. Druids are often found guarding sacred sites or watching over regions of unspoiled nature, but when a significant danger arises, threatening nature's balance of the lands they protect, druids take on a more active role in combating the threat as adventurers. So yeah, they're of nature, of balance. Yeah, seems like a pretty basic idea of how they would work then. Of Wiccan, I guess, is another way to put it. When making a druid, consider why your character has such a close bond with nature. Perhaps your character lives in a society where the old faith still thrives, or was raised by a druid after being abandoned in the depths of a forest. Perhaps your character had a dramatic encounter with the spirits of nature, coming face to face with a giant eagle or a direwolf and surviving the experience. Maybe your character was born during an epic storm or a volcanic eruption, which was interrupted by a sign that becoming a druid was part of the character's destiny. Have you always been an adventurer as part of your druidic calling? Or did you first spend time as a caretaker of a sacred grove or spring? Perhaps your homeland was befouled by evil, and you took upon an adventuring life in hopes of finding a new home on purpose. Quick build. You can make a druid quickly by following these suggestions. First, wisdom should be your highest ability score. Makes sense, I think. Yeah. Followed by constitution. Second, choose the hermit background. Okay, they're like a barbarian, but more with plants and less with Angie. Probably makes sense. Hit dice 1d8 per druid level. Proficiencies: light armor, medium armor, shields. Druids will not wear armor or use shields made of metal. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess the whole refinement idea of that, huh? What that calls about. Alright, where were we? Constitution. Weapons: clubs, daggers, darts, javelins, maces, quarterstaffs, scimitars, sickles, slings, spears. It's a long list of proficiencies, but it's actually shorter than most people's. Tools: herbalism kit, saving throws, intelligence, wisdom. Excuse me. Alright, so I think a lot of that got a general idea about the druid and what they do. Now we're on to the fighter. Alrighty. Fighter. Alright. Just look at some of these characters, trying to see if I should consider anything, but I think I'm okay. Okay, fighter. A human is clanging plate armor holds in her clanging plate armor holds her shield before her as she runs toward the masked goblins. An elf behind her, clad in studded leather armor, peppers the goblins with arrows loosed from her exquisite bow. The half-orc nearby shouts orders, helping the two combatants coordinate their assault to the best advantage. Oh yeah, fighters are basically, I guess the best way to put it would be military, like very well trained in many ways. The dwarf in chainmail interposes his shield between the ogre's club and his companion, knocking the deadly blow aside. His companion, a half-elf in scale armor, swings two scimitars in a blinding whirl as she circles the ogre, looking for a blind spot in its defenses. A gladiator fights for his sport in an arena, a master with his trident and net, skilled at toppling foes and moving them around for the crowd's delight and his own tactical advantage. His opponent's sword flares with blue light as an instant before she sends lightning flashing forth to smite him. All these heroes are fighters, perhaps the most diverse class in the characters of the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. Diverse. Diverse. Hold up, I actually got it. That's how I feel, music. Diverse. What is diverse definition? Differing one from another. Made up of distinct character. Okay, that's what I thought. I just diverse. I guess maybe it's just as far as origins go. Maybe that's it. Because that part would make sense, but I don't know. I think it's a strange way to put it, but maybe it makes sense. Okay, diverse class of characters in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like they're just the actually most bland. Like that's how I've kind of looked at a fighter. They just feel the most bland. So I'm not. That's why I'm very confused by that statement. Um, Questing knights, conquering overlords, royal companions, elite foot soldiers, hardened mercenaries, and bandit kings as fighters, they all share the unparalleled mastery with weapons and armor and a thorough knowledge. Yeah, you just explained basically the same person to me. I don't know why that's diverse. I'm sorry, Wizards of the Coast, but like and they are well acquainted with death, both meting. What is this word? Both meting it out. Is that just a typo? A middle English form of meeting, a dream, measuring. Is it pronounced different? Okay, that's fair. I don't know Wizards of the Coast. That just sounds like they're trying to spice up their fighter by picking fantasy words for like. You can use grandiose for grand, guys. Here, let me show you. You wanna grandiose? It's a word you can totally use this. It basically means grand, but you can use it the same. So if you really want to spice up your word grand, just use that. So that's how you make a D&D book. Sorry, it's not that big a deal, but like I'm nitpicking. I'm nitpicking that. All right, well-rounded specialists. Fighters learn the basics of all combat styles. Every fighter can swing an axe, fence with a rapier, wield a longsword or a greatsword, use a bow, and even trap foes in a net with some degree of skill. Likewise, a fighter is adept with shields and every form of armor. Beyond that basic degree of familiarity, each fighter specializes in a certain style of combat. Some concentrate on archery, some on fighting with two weapons at once, and some on augmenting their martial skills with magic. That part's weird to me, actually. That one will be a little bit hard to wrap my head around, I guess. Yeah, because I guess I would need, like Dragon was suggesting, she'd probably want to share characters like that with me, and that could be handy just so I can kind of better get a better idea of each type of character. I will have to go through these again too and look at the different archetypes in the future, but this combination of broad general ability and extensive specialization makes fighters superior combatants on battlefields and in dungeons alike. Trained for danger. Not every member of the city watch and the village militia or the queen's army is a fighter. Most of these troops are relatively untrained soldiers and only the most basic combat knowledge. Veteran soldiers, military officers, trained bodyguards, dedicated knights, and similar figures are fighters. Okay. Yeah, well-trained military is the general idea. Militia would even be a better way to put it, is a fighter. Some fighters feel drawn to use their training as adventurers. The dungeon delving, monster slaying, and other dangerous work common among adventurers is second nature for a fighter, not all that different from the life he or she left behind. There are greater risks, perhaps, but also greater rewards. You fighters in the City Watch have the opportunity to discover a magic flame tongue sword, for example. Okay. Creating a fighter. As you build your fighter, think about two related elements of your character's background. Where did you get your combat training, and what set you apart from the mundane warriors around you? Were you particularly ruthless? Did you get extra help from a mentor? Perhaps because you are exceptional. Perhaps because of your exceptional dedication. What drove you to this training in the first place? A threat to your homeland? A thirst for revenge? A need to prove yourself might all have been factors. You might have enjoyed formal training as a noble's army or in a local militia. Perhaps you trained in a war academy, learning strategy tactics and military history. Or you might be self-taught, unpolished, but well-tested. Did you take up a sword as a way to escape the limits of life on a farm, or are you following a proud family tradition? Where did you acquire your weapons and armor? They might have been military issue or family heirlooms, or perhaps you scrimped and saved for years to buy them. Your armaments are among your most important possessions, the only things that stand between you and death's embrace. Big mood. It's not a big mood, I'm just memeing. I have no relation to that. You can make a fighter quickly by following these suggestions. First, make strength or dexterity your highest ability score, depending on whether you want to focus on melee or on archery or finesse weapons. I guess that is why they say they're diverse, because you can focus on either melee, you can focus on either strength or dexterity. So I can see that. Whereas a lot of other characters, you generally have one in particular you should be picking. I guess that is why they would say the most diverse. Yeah, that makes sense. If for no other reason. Your next highest score should be Constitution or Intelligence if you plan to adopt the Eldritch Knight martial archetype. I'm pretty sure that's one where they use like magic. So, second, choose the soldier background. That's for the quick build. Just in case I wasn't clear. Hit dice 1d10. Proficiencies, all armor, shields, weapons, simple weapons, martial weapons, tools, none, saving throws, strength, constitution. Where those saving throws are still. You think you could pick that, right? Unless maybe you get more saving throws later on if you pick ranged. That could be a thing. Anyways, that's a general idea of a fighter. Which of our characters over here is a fighter? I just Batman. Well trained. Yeah. Just Batman. Alright, next up on our list. Monk. Hey, get out of here with that. So, we have a monk coming up. It's gonna take me a while to get through all these, but I figure I at least wanted to kind of plug on this a bit, give myself a reason to do it too. Get some ideas of what characters are like. Her fists a blur as they deflect an incoming. Wait, you can't see. Hold up. I'm actually gonna. Let me. There. That way so you can see it a little bit better. In fact, I have monk and stuff right there, so I'm less in the way of it. I probably don't need like screen that big when I'm just rambling. Alright. Her fists a blur as they deflect an incoming hail of arrows. A half-elf springs over a barricade and throws herself into the massed ranks of hobgoblins on the other side. She whirls among them, knocking their blows aside and sending them reeling until at least she stands alone. Okay. She be flailing. Taking a deep breath, a human covered in tattoos settles into battle stance. As the first charging orcs reach him, he exhales. A blast of fire roars from his mouth, engulfing. It's awesome. Nice. Yeah. Moving with the silence of the night, a black-clad halfling steps into a shadow beneath an arch and emerges from another inky shadow on a balcony a stone's throw away. She slides her blade free of its cloth-wrapped scabbard and peers through the open window at the tyrant prince, so vulnerable in the grip of sleep. It sounds like an assassin. That sounds like a rogue thing. Probably makes sense, right? But whatever their discipline, monks are united in their ability to magically harness the energy that flows in their bodies, whether channeled as a striking display of combat prowess or subtler focus of defensive ability and speed. This energy infuses all that a monk does. Monks make careful study of magical energy that most monastic traditions call ki. The energy is an element of a magic that suffuses the multiverse. Suffuses? Am I saying that right? Seems wrong. Sophisis? Learning with jazz. Third person singular simple present indicative form of suffuse. Alright, let's look at suffuse. Am I pronouncing it right? Suffuse. Okay. To spread over or through the manner of fluid or light. Ah, okay, yeah. Now I get it. That's an interesting word. Okay. That's a new word I learned today that I might actually use. Diffuses the multiverse, specifically the element that flows through living bodies. Monks harness this power within themselves to create magical effects and exceed their body's physical capabilities, and some of their special attacks can hinder the flow of ki in their opponents. Using this energy, monks channel uncanny speed and strength into their unarmed strikes. As they gain experience, their martial training and their mastery of ki gives them more power over their bodies and the bodies of their foes. To put this in perspective, in Naruto, Rock Lee, basically this, he couldn't use ninjutsu or whatever. He was only good at taijutsu, I think. But he also had control over the ki and the gates of the body. So that was his special power. Training in asceticism. Learning with jazz. Asceticism. Okay. Asceticism. Alright. The principles and practices of ascetic. Extreme self-denial and austerity. The doctrine in which the ascetic life releases the soul from bondage to the body and permits a union with the divine. Two different definitions. The life or practice of ascetic. The principle of the historic course of ascetics. Thanks! Thanks, it helped explain it so well. What is asceticism? The work of ascetics. Okay. Okay, let's go to ascetics because I need to figure this. Yeah, ascetic. Okay. Practicing strict self-denial as a measure of personal and especially spiritual discipline. What? Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. Like meditating under a cold flowing river. It's about, yeah, okay. It's about self discipline, basically. Okay. No, no, that makes sense. I was so confused at first. So training and self discipline. Got you guys. Small walled cloisters dot the landscapes of the worlds of D&D, tiny refuges from the flow of ordinary life where time seems to stand still. The monks who live there seek personal perfection through the contemplation of rigorous training. Many entered the monastery as children, sent to live there when their parents died, when food couldn't be found to support them, or in return for some kindness that the monks had performed for their families. Some monks live entirely apart from the surrounding population, secluded from anything that might impede their spiritual progress. Others are sworn to isolation, emerging only to serve as spies or assassins at the command of their leader, a noble patron, or some other mortal advice. Monks are all over the place, man. They're like assassins, they're martial artists, they're monks. Um, Majority of monks don't shun their neighbors, making frequent visits to nearby towns and villages in exchange their services for food and other goods. As versatile warriors, monks often end up protecting their neighbors from monsters or tyrants. For a monk, becoming an adventurer means leaving a structured, communal lifestyle to become a wanderer. This can be a harsh transition, and monks don't undertake it lightly. Those who leave their cloisters take their work seriously, approaching their adventures as personal tests of their physical and spiritual growth. Does it seem loud to anyone else? As a rule, monks care little for material wealth and are driven by a desire to accomplish a greater mission than merely slaying monsters and plundering their treasure. Okay, that makes sense. As you make a monk character, think about your connection to the monastery where you learned your skills and spent your formative years. Were you an orphan or a child left on the monastery's threshold? Did your parents promise you to a monastery in gratitude for their service performed by the monks? That sounds messed up, man. Did you enter the secluded life to hide from a crime you committed? Or did you choose the monastic life yourself? You know, I feel like monks are way more diverse than fighters at this point. They're trying to cover too much ground, am I right? Why does this feel so loud? Not just me, right? Consider why you're left. Did you head to the monastery choose you for a did the head of a monastery choose you for a particular important mission beyond the cloister? Perhaps you were cast out because of some violation of the community's rules. Did you dread leaving, or were you happy to go? Is there something you hope to accomplish outside the monastery? Are you eager to return to your home? As a result of a structured life of a monastic community and the discipline required to harness ki, monks are almost always lawful in alignment. Quick build. You can make a monk quickly by following these suggestions. First, make dexterity your highest ability score, followed by wisdom. Second, choose the hermit background. Hit points. Hit dice 1d8 per monk level. Blah, blah, blah. Armor. Proficiencies. Armor. None. Weapons. Simple weapons. Short swords. Tools. Choose one type of the artisan's tools or one musical instrument. Saving throws. Strength. Dexterity. Skills. Choose two from acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, and stealth. So there's like a few different. Oh, I think I know who we put for him. I feel like we put. I'm gonna put Garnet as a monk as well. Garnet or maybe both. If we're gonna go strictly martial based stuff, I feel like we put Garnet there. All right. Just for now, I think Garnet fits well there. As far as, yeah, if I understand this correctly. Anybody else got suggestions? Let me know as far as where I've placed characters. preferably where I've already placed characters, but if you have other, suggestions as well, feel free to give them out. Alright, next we are doing... there we go. Next we're doing a paladin. Paladin, which is basically a public defender, a crusader, holy warrior. Paladin. Clad in plate armor that gleams in the sunlight despite the dust and grime of long travel, a human lays down her sword and shield and places her hands on a mortally wounded man. Divine radiance shines from her hands. The man's wounds knit closed, and his eyes open wide with amazement. This does make it feel like they're almost too similar to a cleric just based on that description, but I guess you would mostly want to differentiate it based on clerics are missionaries, paladins are crusaders. Yeah. A dwarf crouches behind an outcrop, his black cloak making him nearly invisible in the night, and watches an orc war band celebrating its recent victory. Silently, he stalks into their midst and whispers an oath, and 2 of the orcs are dead before they realize he is there. I'm trying to wrap my head around what that would be exactly. I'll figure it out. Silver hair shining in a shaft of light that seems to illuminate only him. An elf laughs with exultation. Exultation. Gotta double check that word. Don't recall it very well right now. Exultation. I would not know. Yeah, the whole paladin doing stuff in the night and what spell that'd be. I have a little hard time pinning that down. Also, how you doing, Grim? What you been up to? Exultation. Exultation. An act or condition of rejoicing greatly. Ah, that makes sense. Okay. Where was I? Ah, yes. Silver hair shining in a shaft of light that seems to illuminate only him. An elf laughs with exultation. His spear flashes like his eyes as he jabs again and again at a twisted giant until his light overcomes its hideous. At last, his light overcomes its hideous darkness. Public defender, everyone. That sounds like some chaotic neutral stuff going on there. I don't know. Laughing maniacally as he's just stabbing a giant over and over again. What the heck is a paladin? Alright. I don't know if I like paladins. Okay, that seems pretty messed up, man. I don't want to be defended by that guy, TB. To do crazy. Like you're trying to ask for Bakugo for My Hero Academia to protect you. That dude crazy. Whatever their origin, their mission, paladins are united by their oaths to stand against the forces of evil. Whether sworn by a god's altar and the witness of a priest, it is a sacred glade before nature's spirits and fey beings, or in a moment of desperation and grief with the dead as the only witness. A paladin's oath is a powerful bond. It is a source of power that turns a devout warrior into a blessed champion. Okay, so basically it's just a fighter type who has been blessed in some way. Not to be confused with a cleric who is a priest who has practiced far beyond what most would consider necessary. Yeah. Similar but different. Like, basically, Paladin's backstory is like a fighter And a cleric's backstory is more like a priest. But they have similar adjustments, alignments, I guess. Yeah. That would also explain why a crazy elf person shanking a giant over and over again is part of that thing. The curse of righteousness. A paladin swears to uphold justice and righteousness, to stand with the good things of the world against the encroaching darkness, and to hunt the forces of evil wherever they lurk. Different paladins focus on various aspects of the cause of righteousness, but all are bound by the oaths that grant them power to do their sacred work. Although many paladins are devoted to gods of good, a paladin's power comes from as much from a commitment to justice itself as it does from a god. Okay. Paladins train for years to learn skills of combat, mastering a variety of weapons and armor. Even so, their martial skills are secondary to the magical power they wield. Power to heal the sick and injured, to smite the wicked and the undead, and to protect the innocent and those who join them in the fight for justice. Okay. I guess like the way that gods work in this world too, what they deem lawful or righteous and justice would be different per god anyways. Especially because there's like orc gods who are apparently would be considered evil hell beings. Something like that. So that is something to keep in mind with this too, and I need to kind of remind myself. So alright, where are we at here? Beyond the mundane life. Almost by definition, the life of a paladin is an adventuring life. Let me get some water here. Hold up. Wait. Superman a paladin. I think that's a given. Almost by definition, life of a paladin is an adventuring life, unless the lasting injury has taken him or her from adventuring for a time. Every paladin lives on the front lines of the cosmic struggle against evil. Fighters are rare enough among the ranks of militias and armies of the world, but even fewer people can claim the true calling of a paladin. When they do receive the call, these warriors turn from former occupations and take up arms to fight evil. Sometimes their oaths lead them into the service of the crown as leaders of elite groups of knights, but even then their loyalty is first to the cause of righteousness and not to the crown and country. Adventuring paladins take their work seriously. A delve into an ancient ruin or dusty crypt can be a quest driven by a higher purpose than the acquisition of treasure. Evil lurks in dungeons and primeval forests, and even the smallest victory against it can tilt the cosmic balance away from oblivion. Dang, that definitely sounds like Superman. Creating a paladin. The most important aspect of a paladin character is the nature of his or her holy quest. Although the class features related to your oath don't appear until you reach 3rd level, plan ahead for that choice by reading the oath descriptions at the end of the class. Are you a devoted servant of good, loyal to the gods of justice and honor, a holy knight in shining armor venturing forth to smite evil? Are you a glorious champion of the light, cherishing everything beautiful that stands against the shadow, a knight whose oath descends from traditions older than many of the gods? Or are you an embittered loner sworn to take vengeance on those who have done great evil, sent as an angel of death by the gods, or driven by your own need for revenge? Appendix B lists many deities worshipped by paladins throughout the multiverse, such as Torm, Tyre, Hieronius, Paladin, Kiri Jolith, Dal Ara, the Silver Flame, that sounds like a superhero name, Bahamut, Athena, Rehorakta, and Heimdall. How did you experience your call to serve as a paladin? Did you hear a whisper from an unseen god or angel while you were at a prayer? Yeah, basically it's a cleric or turned fighter or whatever. cleric, but it's a fighter. Did another paladin sense the potential within you and decide to train you as a squire? Or did some terrible event, the destruction of your home, perhaps driven by your... Well, something I should get up and stretch. Probably a good idea. Perhaps driven by your quests. Perhaps you stumbled into a sacred grove or a hidden elven enclave and found yourself called to protect all such refugees of goodness and beauty. Or you might have known you from your earliest memories that paladin's life was your calling, almost as if you had been sent into the world with that purpose stamped on your soul. Stamped. All the words they used before, and then they used just stamped on your soul as a phrase. That's a choice. Wouldn't engraved have been a better one, considering they use like an old English word for meat, which is meat? I don't know, it's just me. Just me, wizards. I'm nitpicking it too much sometimes. That's definitely, especially because like half the stuff I'm definitely gonna be flopping back on later. But I'm still gonna nitpick it. As guardians against the forces of wickedness, paladins are rarely of any evil alignment. Most of them walk the paths of charity and justice. Consider how your alignment colors the way you pursue your holy quest and the manner in which your conduct... Consider how your alignment colors the way you pursue your holy quest and the manner in which you conduct yourself before the gods and mortals, my lord. I'm in trouble. Your oath and alignment might be in harmony, and your oath might represent standards of behavior that you have not yet attained. Okay, quick build. You can make a paladin quickly by following these suggestions. First, strength should be your highest ability score, Superman. Followed by charisma, Superman. Second, choose a noble background. Yeah, I think that fits Superman. Definitely a Superman. Class features. As a paladin, you gain the following class features. Hit dice 1d10 per paladin level. Excuse me. Superman. Proficiencies: all armor and shields, weapons, simple weapons and martial weapons, tools, none. Saving throws: wisdom, charisma. Skills: choose 2 from athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion. Okay, I guess I should get up and do a little stretch break here. I have been sitting for a bit. Wouldn't be a terrible idea. Next, we'll be getting on the Ranger. Let me just get that ready. I have a couple ideas who might fit here. Maybe, maybe not. Ranger. We might run out of characters before we get enough classes. You know what I mean? All right, we'll be right, guys. All right, I'm back. Remember to get up and stretch, guys. Sit in one space too long, not good for your bones. Probably. You'll need to get that, or to get some kind of like little bike or treadmill thing. Krim was mentioned before. That does seem like be a pretty good idea. All right. So now we're on the Ranger. I'm feeling like an Arya Stark might be a decent addition to that. We'll see. Okay, rough and wild looking, a human stalks alone through the shadows of trees, hunting the orcs he knows. Actually, no, she might be a rogue too. Yeah. Anyways, hunting the orcs he knows are planning a raid on a nearby farm. Clutching a short sword in each hand, he becomes a whirlwind of steel, cutting down one enemy after another. After tumbling away from a cone of freezing air, an elf finds her feet and draws her bow to loose an arrow at the white dragon, shrugging off the wave of fear that emanates from the dragon like the cold of its breath. She sends one arrow after another to find gaps between the dragon's thick scales. Holding his hand high, a half-elf whistles to the hawk that circles high above him, calling the bird back to his side. Whispering instructions in Elvish, he points to the owlbear he's been tracking and sends the hawk to distract the creature while he readies his bow. Far from the bustle of cities and towns, past the hedges that shelter the most distant farms from the terrors of the wild, amid the dense packed trees of trackless forest, and across the wide and empty plains, Rangers keep their unending watch. So these characters sound like scouts. in general, but also spies, kind of also too. Special forces almost, but also kind of just like a druid. That's less interwoven with magic and nature itself, because it does sound like there is some because there is some magic there too, so there's like some level of that there. Deadly hunters, warriors of the wilderness, rangers specialize in hunting the monsters that threaten the edges of civilization. Humanoid rangers, rampaging beasts and monstrosities, terrible giants and deadly dragons. They learn to track their quarry as a predator does, moving stealthily through the wilds and hiding themselves in brush and rubble. Rangers focus on their combat training, on techniques that are particularly useful against their specific favored foes. Thanks to a familiarity with the wilds, rangers acquire the ability to cast spells that harness nature's power, much as a druid does. Okay, they kind of elaborate on that a little bit. Their spells, like their combat abilities, emphasize speed, stealth, and the hunt. A ranger's talents and abilities are honed with deadly focus on the grim task of protecting the borderlands. Independent adventurers. Though a ranger might make a living as a hunter, a guide, or a tracker, a ranger's true calling is to defend the outskirts of civilization from the ravages of monsters, humanoid hordes that press in from the wild. In some places, rangers gather in secretive orders or join forces with druidic circles. Many rangers, though, are independent almost to a fault, knowing that when a dragon or a band of orcs attacks, a ranger might be the first and possibly the last line of defense. So, Goblin Slayer, probably a ranger. I think that makes sense. This fierce independence makes rangers well suited for adventuring, since they are accustomed to life far from the comforts of a dry bed and hot bath. Faced with city-bred adventurers who grouse and whine about the hardships of the wild, rangers respond with a mixture of amusement, frustration, and compassion. But they quickly learn that other adventurers who can carry their own weight in a fight against civilization's foes are worth any extra burden. Coddled city folk might not know how to feed themselves or find fresh water in the wild, but they make up for it in other ways. Thinking, you know what? I think maybe. Yes, maybe. Yes, maybe. Alrighty. As you create a ranger, as you create your ranger, as you create your ranger character, consider the nature of the training that gave you your particular abilities. Capabilities. Did you train with a single mentor, wandering the wilds together until you mastered the ranger's ways? Did you leave your apprenticeship or was your mentor slain? My brain is starting to stop here. Perhaps by some kind of monster that became your favorite enemy. Or perhaps you learned the skills as a part of a band of rangers affiliated with a druidic circle, trained in the mystic paths as well as wilderness lore. You might be self-taught, a recluse who learned combat skills, tracking even magical connection to nature through the necessity of surviving in the wilds. Maybe Wonder Woman still doesn't fit there. Wonder Woman could still just be a fighter. Arya could be a ranger, but I don't know enough about Arya in general either. Anyways, what's this? Okay, blah blah blah. Where was I? What's the source of your particular hatred of a certain kind of enemy? Did a monster kill someone you loved or destroy your home village? Or did you see too much of the destruction of these monsters cause and commit yourself to reining in their depredations? Well, let's look up that word, depredation. I think I should done with these classes. We'll have to stop just because my voice is going too much. Depredation. A predatory attack, a raid. Damage or loss, ravage. Man, I'm so depredated on my throat right now. Is your adventuring career a continuation of your work in protecting the Borderlands, or a significant change? What made you join up with a band of adventurers? Did you find it challenging to teach new allies the ways of the wild, or did you welcome the relief from solitude that they offer? Quick build. You can make a ranger quickly by following these suggestions. First, make dexterity your highest ability score, followed by wisdom. Some rangers focus on two-weapon fighting, make strength higher than dexterity. Second, choose the Outlander class. As a ranger, you gain the following class features. Hit dice 1d10 per ranger level. Proficiencies: light armor, medium armor, shields, simple weapons, martial weapons. Tools: none. Saving throws: strength, dexterity. Skills: choose 3 from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Okay, so rangers go. I feel like this still fits for. Yeah, I think that fits. I think we want to move Red Ranger. Maybe a fighter, but I'm putting her there. All right. Rogue. I am kind of just winging it anyways as far as that goes. Next up, we have a rogue. So Ari will probably go there. The whole assassin thing too. God, I don't know where a Harley would go at this point. Yeah. Like, would Harley be a bard? Harley could be a bard. I don't know, man. Alright. Signaling for her companions to wait, a halfling creeps forward through the dungeon hall. She presses an ear to the door, then pulls out a set of tools and picks the lock in a blink of an eye, then disappears into the shadows as a fighter friend moves forward to kick the door open. A human lurks in the shadows of an alley while his accomplice prepares for her to part in the ambush. When their target, a notorious slaver, passes the alleyway, the accomplice cries out. The slaver comes to investigate, and the assassin's blade cuts his throat before he can make a sound. Suppressing a giggle, a gnome wiggles her fingers and magically lifts the key ring from the guard's belt. In a moment, the keys are in her hand, the cell door is open, and she and her companions are free to make their escape. Rogues rely on skill, stealth, and their foes' vulnerabilities to get the upper hand in any situation. They have a knack for finding the solution to just about any problem, demonstrating resourcefulness and versatility that is the cornerstone of any successful adventuring party. Yeah, this sounds about right already. Rogues devote as much effort to mastering the use of a variety of skills as they do to perfecting their combat abilities, giving them a broad expertise that few other characters can match. Many rogues focus on stealth and deception, while others refine the skills that help them in a dungeon environment, such as climbing, finding, and disarming traps and opening locks. Now, rogues are a little bit of a mixed bag, too. They're a little hard to pin down what they would actually be, because most things seem to be just either illegal or lock spies, thugs, mercenaries. Yeah, maybe investigators too would be a thing. Private investigators, stuff like that. Did I read this part? When it comes to combat, rogues prioritize cunning over brute strength. A rogue would rather make one precise strike, placing exactly where the attack will hurt the target most, than wear an opponent down with a barrage of attacks. Rogues have an almost supernatural knack for avoiding danger, and few learn magical tricks to supplement their own abilities. Yeah, my poor mouth. A shady living. Every town and city has its share of rogues. Most of them live up to the worst stereotypes of the class, making a living as burglars, assassins, cut purses, and con artists. So, yeah. Politicians, am I right? Um, Often these scoundrels are organized into thieves guilds and crime families. Plenty of rogues operate independently, but even they sometimes recruit apprentices to help them in their scams and heists. A few rogues make an honest living as locksmiths, investigators, or exterminators. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Which can be a dangerous job in a world where dire rats and were rats haunt the sewers. As adventurers, rogues fall on both sides of the law. Some are hardened criminals who decide to seek their fortune in treasure hoards, while others take up the life of adventure to escape from the law. Some have learned and perfected their skill with the explicit purpose of infiltrating ancient ruins and hidden crypts in search of treasure. As you create your rogue character, consider the character's relationship to the law. Do you have a criminal past or present? Are you on the run from the law or from an angry thieves guild master? Or did you leave the guild in search of bigger risks and bigger rewards? Rogues would be low-key dummies because they hate technology and or magic. Um, where was I at? Maybe you were lucky and a successful robbery gave you the coin you need to escape the squalor of your life. Did Wanderlust finally call you away from your home? Perhaps you suddenly found yourself cut off from your family or your mentor, and you had to find a few new means of support. Or maybe you made a new friend, another member of your venture party, who showed you new possibilities of earning a living and employing your particular talents. Quick build. You can make a rogue quickly by following these suggestions. First, dexterity should be your highest ability score. Make intelligence your next highest if you want to excel in investigation or plan to take up arcane trickster archetype. Choose charisma instead if you plan to emphasize deception and social interaction. Politicians, am I right? So I could choose the charlatan background. I'll stop that bit now. Class features. As a rogue, you have the following class. Hit dice 1d8 per rogue level. Proficiencies. Light armor. Simple weapons. Hand crossbows. Longswords. Rapiers. Short swords. Tools. Thieves' tools. Saving throws. Dexterity. Intelligence. Skills. Choose 4 from acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. Oh yeah, I think rogues aren't too hard to figure out here. I wonder if I should make my own little notes about this. Oh, we have sorcerers coming out next, but sorcerer. Pink, I guess, yeah. So I got a general idea what a sorcerer is. Did I spell that right? No, there's no. Not. It did look funny. I couldn't figure out why for a moment. Okay, sorcerer. Golden eyes flashing, a human stretches out her hand and unleashes a dragon fire that burns in her veins. As an inferno rages around her foes, leathery wings spread from her back, and she takes to the air. Long hair whipped in a conjured wind, a half-elf spreads his arms wide and throws his head back, lifting him momentarily off the ground. A wave of magic surges up in him, through him, and out from him in a mighty blast of lightning. Crouching behind a stalagmite, a halfling points a finger at a charging troglodyte. A blast of fire springs from her finger to strike the creature. She ducks back beyond the rock formation with a grin, unaware that her wild magic has turned her skin bright blue. Sorcerers carry a magical birthright conferred upon them by an exotic bloodline, some otherworldly influence, or exposure to unknown cosmic forces. One can't study sorcery as long as one learns a language, any more than one can learn to live a legendary life. Spin on that. No one chooses sorcery. The power chooses the sorcerer. Hmm. No one chooses sorcery. Chooses them. Morty didn't choose this life, you know. Let me get my light back over here. Too much. Here, it's good. Raw magic. Magic is part of every sorcerer, suffusing body, mind, and spirit with latent power that waits to be tapped. Some sorcerers wield magic that springs from an ancient bloodline infused with the magic of dragons. Others carry a raw, uncontrolled magic within them, a chaotic storm that manifests in unexpected ways. The appearance of sorceress powers is wildly unpredictable. Some draconic bloodlines produce exactly one sorcerer in every generation, but in other lines of descent, every individual is a sorcerer. Most of the time, the talents of sorcery appear as apparent flukes. Some sorcerers can't name the origin of their power, while others trace it to strange events in their own lives. The touch of a demon, the blessing of a dryad at a baby's birth, or the taste of the water from a mysterious spring might spark the gift of sorcery. So too might the gift of a deity of magic, exposure to the elemental forces of the inner planes, or the maddening chaos of limbo, or a glimpse into the inner workings of reality. Sorcerers have no use for the spellbooks and ancient tomes of magic lore that wizards rely on, nor do they rely on the patron to grant their spells, as warlocks do. By learning to harness channel their own inborn magic, they can discover new and staggering ways to unleash this power. So yeah, a lot of times it's just something. It's basically it's Maybelline. Maybe it's Maybelline. Um. Well, no. Basically, they're born with it. Warlocks, or maybe it's Maybelline. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah. Sorcerers are rare in the. Ooh, wait, hold up. Steve a sorcerer? Get over here, Marty. You kind of a sorcerer. I mean, I don't know what Black Adam is. Sorcerers are rare in the world, and it's unusual to find a sorcerer who is not involved in the adventuring life in some way. People with magical powers seething in their veins soon discover that the power doesn't like to stay quiet. A sorcerer's magic wants to be wielded, and has a tendency to spill out in unpredictable ways if it isn't called on. Hmm. Eh. I don't know enough about Steve. I'm just putting. It's gonna be Morty. Definitely gonna be Morty, right? Yeah. Sorcerers often have obscure or exotic. Hold up. Quixotic definition. Caught up in the romance of noble deeds. Oh, quixotic. Okay, not quixotic. Quixotic. Caught up in the romance of noble deeds, the pursuit of unreachable goals. Idealistic without the regard to practicality. Quixotic. Ah, okay. Have obscure and quixotic motivations driving them to adventure. Some seek a greater understanding of the magical force that infuses them, or the answer to the mystery of its origins. Others hope to find a way to get rid of it, or to unleash its full potential. Whether their goals, sorcerers are every bit as useful as to an adventuring party as wizards, making up for comparative lack of breadth in their magical knowledge with enormous flexibility in using the spells they know. Okay. Creating a sorcerer. The most important question to consider when creating your sorcerer is the origin of your power. As a starting character, you choose the origin that ties to a draconic bloodline or the influence of wild magic. But the exact source of your power is up to you to decide. Is it a family curse passed down to you from distant ancestors? Ah, the whole Tekken stuff. Heihachi bloodline. Heihachi Mishima. Kazuya Mishima. Or does some extraordinary event leave you blessed with inherent magic, but perhaps scarred as well? How do you feel about the magical power coursing through you? Do you embrace it, try to master it, or revel in its unpredictable nature? Is it a blessing or a curse? Did you seek it out, or did it find you? Do you have the option to refuse it, or do you wish you had? What do you intend to do with it? Perhaps you feel like you've been given this power for some lofty purpose, or you might decide that the power gives you the right to do what you want. You take what you want from those who lack such power. Perhaps your power links you to a powerful individual in the world. The Fey creature that blessed you at birth, the dragon who put a drop of its blood into your veins, the lich who created you as an experiment, or the deity who chose you to carry this power. Okay. So yeah, basically it's something you have in your blood, not something that's learned as much as like a lot of other classes. So quick build. You can make a sorcerer quickly by following the suggestions. First, charisma is your highest ability score, followed by constitution. I really wish they would I should look at this a little more because I'm really curious how they logic in charisma here. Like between both sorcerer and warlock having charisma, that just feels weird. Like they feel similar enough as it is. The whole thing is like the only difference is how you get the power at that point, it seems. But I will look at warlock here shortly. First, charisma is your highest, followed by constitution. That makes sense when you basically have fire in your veins. Second, choose a hermit background. Third, choose the light prestidigitation, ray of frost, and shocking grasp cantrips, along with the first level spells shield and magic missile. Magic missile. Class features. As a sorcerer, you gain the following class features. Hit dice 1d6 per sorcerer level. Proficiencies: armor, none. Weapons: daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows. Tools: none. Saving throws: constitution, charisma. Skills: choose two from arcana, deception, insight, intimidation, persuasion, and religion. I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they definitely. I mean, they have insight in there, which makes sense. I don't know. I'm overthinking this. I don't need to worry about that much. Let's go look for spellcasting. Let's see if this explains it. I'm actually going to read this part just because I'm just confused on a sorcerer as a whole. So, an event in your past or in the life of a parent or ancestor left an indelible mark on you, infusing you with arcane magic. This font of magic, whatever its origin, fuels your spells. See Chapter 10 for the general rules of spellcasting, Chapter 11 for the sorcerer spell list. Probably get to that part eventually. Yeah. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for your sorcerer spells. Since the power of your magic relies on your ability to project your will into the world. There. You use your charisma whenever your spell refers to your spellcasting ability. In addition, you use your charisma modifier when setting and making throw DC for a sorcerer's. Okay. I'm gonna go back quick. I gotta wrap my head around this. That's the main reason I'm here. Let's go back. Alright, so we're gonna go back to some of the other spellcasters. Particularly, I don't think a barbarian has spellcasting. Yeah, barbarian does not. Let's go to bard. We're gonna read on the bard quick. Spellcasting. You have learned to untangle and reshape the fabric of reality in harmony with your wishes and music. Your spells are part of a vast repertoire, magic that you can attune for different situations. See Chapter 10 for general rules, spellcasting, Chapter 11 for bard spell lists. Charisma is your spell casting ability for your bard spells. Your magic comes from the heart and soul you pour into the performance of your music and oration. Use your charisma whenever spell refers to your. Yeah, that makes sense. The whole thing is basically performance. Performances. Yeah, that makes sense. Why it's confusing sometimes. I feel like charisma is also tied in closely to willpower, but that's also wisdom, so it gets confusing after a while. What's what when the way that they utilize it in this. But sometimes too they like the saving throw for wisdom was literally called will before. So yeah, it's a little confusing. A little. They might have changed that too. Is the thing. They might have actually adjusted that for particular reasons. Which I guess would make sense. Charisma is more willpower. Well, no. That's so. My head hurt. Willpower should be a separate thing. But if it's a separate thing, then we need to talk about sorcerer. I don't know, man. My head hurt. My head hurt. Need help. Help! Okay, let's go to cleric here. Cleric, spellcasting ability. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for your cleric spells. The power of your spells comes from your devotion to your deity. You use your wisdom whenever. We didn't even actually explain it all there. As a conduit for divine power, your cleric casts. I wish it explained it a little bit though. It'd be a little easier to wrap my head around it compared to other things. But it just says that it's because of your divine deity. That doesn't really explain anything. I'm just saying. Sad. Alright, druid. Let's go to spellcasting with a druid. Theirs is also wisdom. Spellcasting. Spellcasting ability for a druid. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for your druid spells. Since your magic draws upon the devotion and attunement to nature. That it explains a little bit better there. It's like an attunement to nature, which is basically what that one is probably suggesting too. That would seem to suggest that wisdom is not self-awareness. Right? Wisdom is not. No, it's probably both still, but. Kind of. I'm struggling, man. Struggling on what these guys meant when they wrote all this. Need a whole like encyclopedia that explains do's and don'ts of character stats. That's the part I definitely need to figure out for me to kind of fully even understand how I want to build characters too. You have the fighter here. They do have the Eldritch. Okay, Eldritch, spell casting ability. Intelligence is your spell casting ability for your wizard spells, since you'll learn your spells through study and memorization. Okay, that makes sense. Monk. They have spell, not necessarily actually. They have key. I don't know if I'm gonna find enough here to really help explain this. Spells and key points. Okay. Spellcasting elements. Let's see if we can find this for the. Never mind. Let's do Paladin. Okay. Spellcasting. Spellcasting ability for the Paladin. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for your Paladin spells, since their power derives from the strength of your convictions. Use your charisma. So it's about conviction. And charisma is a measurement of. That makes sense. But charisma could be considered will. To an extent. It is stubbornness in some regards, but charisma is your will. A little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting that a little bit there. Okay, let's look at the ranger. Let's look at the ranger. What's your spell casting ability, ranger? Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for your. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for your ranger, since your magic draws upon the attunement to nature. Oh. Yeah, that makes sense. Rogues don't get spells like ever, it seems like. Okay, so sorcerer. Let's go back to this. So where were we last on sorcerer? Spellcasting ability. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for your sorcerer. As the power of your magic relies on your ability to project your will on into the world. So I think right there that does basically say charisma is your conviction, your determination, your will, along with just your. I mean, it does make sense. Charisma is about as much your ability to convey your thoughts and opinions onto people as it is just your general will and resolve in those matters. So I guess that is why they do sorcerer then. I think I'm gonna go back. I probably shouldn't be doing this much, but I do want to make sure I'm kind of understanding this. That's the main reason I'm here. So let's try to look. I'm gonna look at intelligence again. Oh, I shouldn't. Hold on, I gotta go back to this page. Where am I? Okay, I'm back there. All right. So go back to intelligence and the abilities. So intelligence measures mental acuity, accuracy of recall, and ability to reason, like doing math in your head. Intelligence check comes into play when you need to draw logic, education, memory, deductive reasoning. All right. Other intelligence checks. The DM might call for an intelligence check when you try to accomplish these tasks. The following: communicate with the creature without using words. It's fair. Without using words. Communicate with the creature without using words. It sounds like it would also basically be animal handling, which would be wisdom at that point. I don't think that's. Wizards use intelligence. Estimate the value of a precious item. That makes more sense for intelligence. Pull together a disguise to pass as a city guard. Wouldn't that be charisma? Like disguise? Like that's literally a check is disguise, right? Deception. Well, it's deception, but yeah, I feel like that would be charisma because you would need to understand what you're trying to put together in the perception of what other people are seeing. If that's charisma, yeah, I just don't think there's a whole lot of consistency to this book. Actually, maybe that's the problem. It kind of has a few knickknacks of inconsistency. I guess it was probably written by how many different people, and they kind of just slapped. I should not be expecting perfection. Is what I should be calming down on. I guess. Um, Forge a document. That would make more sense. If you're trying to forge something, word for word, you need to have and the understanding of all those words. That would make more sense to me. Recall lore about a craft or trade. That also makes sense. Win a game of skill. What does that mean, a game of skill? Win a game of skill. Like, if we're talking cards, that makes sense, but skill is a large term there. Like darts, that's dexterity. Um Win a game of skill. Football, that's not skill. That's a game. Yeah, there's just weird phrasings here and there. This is the main thing, and I'm getting too hung up on trying to expect it to. I mean, at that point, they could have cut down a few pages. I'm just saying. Anyways, I think I'm getting the idea here, though. I think I'm getting the idea here. I'm nitpicking the crap out of these books, but but dang it, do better next time, Wizards of the Coast. Do better. All right. Wisdom. Wisdom reflects to you how attuned you are to the world around you. It represents perceptiveness and intuition. Like, intuition, hold up. That still bugs me. Intuition definition. Intuition definition. Is that phrasing right there? The faculty of knowing or understanding something without reasoning or proof. The impression or insight gained by the use of this faculty. A looking on, a sight of view. So I guess it is more so your view of the world, not on yourself. So charisma could still be a self-awareness to an extent. Not exclusively and not even specifically. Like, you could still have high charisma, but it's less about your own ability to self-reflect and more so your ability to deceive or understand others. So I think that still makes sense. That, yeah. Okay, so maybe that's fine. Intuition is a fine thing there. I think that's fine. Intuition is fine. Fine. Fine, me. It's fine. Okay. So, gotta make sure to remind myself what some of these words mean at times, you know? A wisdom check might reflect an effort to read body language, understand someone's feelings, notice things about the environment, or care for an injured person. The animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, and survival skills reflect the aptitude in certain kinds of wisdom checks. So this is more just an awareness of the world around you, being in the moment. Well, that does make sense. Spellcasting ability. Which, yeah, if you have too high of a wisdom, you have less self-awareness, which would inhibit your charisma. That would make sense then. I think if I look at it like that, charisma is still a level of self-awareness. Spellcasting are clerics, druids, and rangers, which makes sense. Clerics are aware of the world, they're aware of their god above them. Yeah, okay. You know what? That makes sense. I think I'm processing this all now properly. I'm digesting it. Delicious. A gut feeling about what course of action to follow. Discern whether a seemingly dead or living creature is undead. Charisma measures your ability to interact effectively with others and includes such factors as confidence and eloquence. So they have the confidence, conviction, determination, will, etc. It can represent a charming or commanding personality. So you can be, yeah, that could even too help with a certain amount of intuition on its own right. If you're aware of yourself and you're talking to people, it can still help with that. So it's like a level of its own intuition, like wisdom could be, but not exclusively. That's also why they're talking about strength and constitution overlapping, because that is how things work. Okay, so I think I'm finally getting this a bit more. Okay, this is basically why I figured I'd read this out loud, so I could just make sure to churn through my thoughts like jazz journal it's become. Other charisma checks. The DM might call for charisma checks when you try to accomplish tasks like the following. Find the person best to talk to for news, rumors, and gossip. Just gonna nitpick this a little bit. So like intelligence checks. Communicate with the creature without using words is intelligence. Find the best person to talk to for news, rumors, or gossip. Like, if you're talking to a person, that would make sense, right? But if you're just trying to figure out based on what you've heard, I guess charisma could still be that. That's fine. Blend into a crowd to get a sense of key topics and or conversations. That makes sense. Bards, paladins, sorcerers, and warlocks. Yeah, because paladins are devout. They're dedicated. They have conviction. Bards are... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I get this. Okay, let's get on to warlocks now. We just got done with sorcerers. We gotta do our warlocks now, probably. And wizards. Okay. Took me a long time to get there, but I'm kind of piecing this together a bit better. I'm still probably getting stuff wrong. Yeah, it's fine. We'll figure it out eventually. We are on Warlock. Guys, how long have I been streaming this? 2.5 hours. Jasta's freaking leapfrogging in his brain as he tries to figure out D&D. Let's go. Warlock, a pseudo dragon curled on his. Oh, I didn't put a bookmark back here, man. Where's this at? There we go. Let's put this right here. Alright. Warlock, a pseudo dragon curled on his shoulder. A young elf in golden robes smiles warmly, weaving a magical charm into his honeyed words and bending the palace, sentinel to his will. As flames spring to life in her hands, a wizened human whispers the secret name of her demonic patron, infusing her spell with fiendish magic. Shifting his gaze between a battered tome and the odd alignment of the stars overhead, a wild-eyed tiefling chants the mystic ritual that will open a doorway to the distant world. Warlocks are seekers of the knowledge that lies hidden in the fabric of the multiverse. Through pacts made with mysterious beings of supernatural power, warlocks unlock magical effects, both subtle and spectacular. Drawing on the ancient knowledge of beings such as fey nobles, demons, devils, hags, and alien entities of the far realm, warlocks piece together their arcane secrets to bolster their own power. There we go. Flippity flip. Sworn and beholden, a warlock is defined by a pact with an otherworldly being. Sometimes the relationship between a warlock and a patron is like that of a cleric and a deity, though the beings that serve as patrons for warlocks are not gods. A warlock might. Okay, that's a specific definition there. As weirdly specific. A cleric is beholden to a deity. A warlock is beholden to a patron. A sorcerer is born with it. A wizard is a nerd. I guess they're adding a lot of classes to effectively be in between a lot of this. Yeah, okay, warlock, because they didn't want to have deity, want to have magical powers but not be beholden to a deity. It would be a warlock, because they didn't want to have to be bound to a cleric or some other god in particular as far as a background goes, and that is probably why they made warlock. A warlock also has same d8 as a cleric, so I guess that's the general idea of a warlock. It's a charisma cleric. Warlock is just a cleric with charisma is the idea, I guess. Okay. Okay, I'm like wrapping my head around this. I was just leapfrogging for how long back there. Why'd you need to make a charisma cleric? Is that important? My head hurts, man. My head hurts. What are you guys doing over here? It's probably makes sense if you've read these books since D&D 1. Since there was only fighter, elf, thief, dwarf. Those are the 4 races and classes you could pick from. Anyways. Oh, my brain's tired, guys. My brain's tired. Our seekers of knowledge that lies beyond the fabric of the multiverse. So pacts are made with the mysterious beings of supernatural power. Warlocks unlock magical effects, both subtle and spectacular, drawing on their ancient knowledge. Beings, okay. Some relationship to a warlock and a patron is like that of a cleric and a deity, though the beings that serve as patrons for warlocks are not gods. A warlock might lead a cult dedicated to a demon prince, an archdevil, or an utterly alien entity. Beings not typically served by clerics. More often, though, the arrangement is similar to that between a master and an apprentice. A warlock learns and grows in power at the cost of occasional services performed on the patron's behalf. Alright. Magic bestowed on a warlock ranges from minor but lasting alterations to the warlock's being, such as an ability to see in darkness or to read any language, to access all to powerful spells. Unlike bookish wizards, warlocks supplement their magic with some facility at hand-to-hand combat. Like a cleric, they are comfortable in light armor and know how to use simple weapons. Delvers into secrets, warlocks are driven by an insatiable need for knowledge and power, which compels them into their pact and shapes their lives. This thirst drives warlocks into their pacts and shapes their later careers as well. Stories of warlocks binding themselves to fiends are widely known, but many warlocks serve patrons that are not fiendish. Sometimes a traveler in the wilds comes to a strangely beautiful tower, meets its fey lord or lady, and stumbles into a pact without being fully aware of it, and sometimes while poring over tomes of forbidden lore, a brilliant but crazed student's mind is open to realities beyond the material world and to the alien beings that dwell in the outer void. Once a pact is... Oh, these are basically people at NASA, warlocks. Hey, we got there. Why did my music stop? Music, get back here! Music, go up and down! Because my music's been off for a bit while I was brain narrating. Once a pact is made, a warlock's thirst for knowledge and power can't be... Pretty sure warlocks fake the moon... Yeah, pretty sure too. Yeah, they seem like fakers. How you doing, Cheese? Good evening. Once a pact is made, a warlock's thirst for knowledge and power can be slaked. Can't be slaked. Slaked. No, we gotta do more words. Slaked definition. Allayed. Quenched, extinguished, as in a slaked thirst. Hold up. What does allayed mean? I'm looking for new D&D. I'm mostly familiarizing myself with the book, particularly because it's confusing. So I'm trying to like wrap my head around classes, abilities, and then trying to learn the rules with the two to make sure like when I start making campaigns or characters in general, I have like a better just overall template of how I want to make a character for a specific class and etc. So allayed, simple past tense and past particle of allay. That was a long way to say look up allay. Allay. To calm or pacify an emotion, set to rest. To reduce the intensity of, lessen or relieve. Synonym, relieve. Allay. Yeah, I mean, half these classes just kind of feel like they're midway variants between other classes too. So then those classes have different archetypes in the middle of all of them. It's a lot of bloat, honestly. It's just so much extra stuff to look at. And then people homebrew their own stuff. And then there's so much in here, man. All right. As far as a warlock goes, I feel like it's Rick Sanchez. He's probably made a deal with some person on the moon. Okay. I was at slaked last. Once a pact is made, a warlock's thirst for knowledge and power can't be slaked with mere study and research. No one makes a pact with such a mighty patron if he or she doesn't intend to use the power thus gained. Rather, the vast majority of warlocks spend their days in active pursuit of their goals, which typically means some kind of adventuring. Furthermore, the bands of their patrons drive warlocks toward adventure. Alright, we're getting near the end of this, though, at least. I'm spending way too much time trying to analyze D&D stuff when I could be going to college for, like, law. I just realized. Analyzing every single word, just hyper-focused. looking it up every time. A little like want to make sure I got the right definition of this word. Yeah. Okay, so creating a warlock. We're at this part now. As you make your warlock character, spend some time thinking about your patron and the obligations that your pact imposes upon you. What led you to make the pact, and how did you make contact with your patron? Were you seduced into summoning a devil, or did you seek out the ritual that would allow you to make contact with an alien elder god? Did you search for your patron, or did you search for your patron, or did your patron find and choose you? Did you shafe definition? Probably should know this word, but I don't recall it right now. Chafe, not chafe, chafe. To wear away or irritate by rubbing or friction. Chafe. Wait, it's just the word chafe. I'm silly. I did know that word. Never mind. I'm getting tired. Do you chafe under the obligations of your pact, or serve joyfully in anticipation of the rewards promised to you? Work with your DM to determine how big a part your pact will be to in your character's adventuring career. Your patron's demands might drive you into adventures, or they might consist entirely of small favors you can do between adventures. What kind of relationship do you have with your patron? Is it friendly, antagonistic, uneasy, or romantic? How important does your patron consider you to be? What part do you play in your patron's plans? Do you know other servants of your patron? How does your patron communicate with you? If you have a familiar, it might occasionally speak with your patron's voice. Some warlocks find messages from their patrons etched on trees, mingled among tea leaves, and adrift in the clouds. Messages that only the warlock can see. Other warlocks converse with their patrons in dreams or waking visions, or deal only with intermediaries. So yeah, warlock is basically a charisma cleric. Yeah, it's just budget cleric, and they use charisma. They don't get it from a god. They get it from some other guy. Budget charisma cleric is basically what a warlock is, in case you're confused. A sorcerer is born with it. A ranger is a fighter but love nature. A druid is a cleric of nature. A rogue gives no F's and just shanks people. Bard is really good at giving compliments to people. This is the worst way to describe it. I'm gonna stop. These descriptions are horrible. It's because I realize how snarky some are and less others are. It's not consistent even. Aha. Where was I? Yeah, let's go to quick build. You can make a warlock quickly by following these suggestions. First, charisma should be your highest ability score, followed by constitution. Just a sorcerer. Except sorcerer has less hit points. Second, choose the charlatan back. That's literally what you do with sorcerer a moment ago. Hold up. Quick build. You make a warlock quickly by following these suggestions. First, charisma should be your highest ability score, followed by constitution. Second, choose the hermit background. My bad. Never mind. Charlatan. Third, choose the Eldritch Blast and Chill Touch cantrips, along with the first level spells Charm Person and Witch Bolt. Okay. Class features. As a warlock, you gain the following class features: hit dice 1d8 per warlock level. Proficiencies: light armor, weapons, simple weapons, tools, none. Saving throws: wisdom, charisma. That makes sense. Skills: choose 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. Okay, and let's look at the spell casting ability. Charisma is your spell casting ability for your warlock spells, so you use charisma whenever your spell refers to your spell casting ability. In addition, you use charisma's modifier It actually didn't explain that as well as the other ones, as far as why it picked that one. What you gonna do? Alrighty. Now we are at the last one. Yeah, wizard is gonna be this color. No way, I'm doing this wrong. This is a wizard. Wizard. Alright. Alright. Wizard. Clad in the silver robes that denote her station, an elf closes her eyes to shut out the distractions of the battlefield and begins her quiet chant, fingers weaving in front of her. She completes her spell and launches a tiny bead of fire toward enemy ranks, where it erupts into a conflagration that engulfs the soldiers. Excuse me. Checking and rechecking his work, a human scribes an intricate magic circle in chalk on the bare stone floor, then sprinkles powdered iron along every line and graceful curve. When the circle is complete, he drones a long incantation. A hole opens up in space inside the circle, bringing a whiff of brimstone from the otherworldly plane beyond. Crouching on the floor in a dungeon intersection, a gnome tosses a handful of small bones inscribed with mystic symbols, muttering a few words of power over them. Closing his eyes to see the visions more clearly, he nods slowly, then opens his eyes and points down the passage to his left. Wizards are supreme magic users, defined and united as a class by the spells they cast. Drawing on the subtle weave of magic that permeates the cosmos, wizards cast spells of explosive fire, arcing lightning, subtle deception, and brute force mind control. Their magic conjures monsters from other planes of existence, glimpses the future, or turns slain foes into zombies. Their mightiest spells change one substance into another, call meteors down from the sky, or open portals to other worlds. Scholars of the Arcane. Wild and enigmatic, varied in form and function, the power of magic draws students who seek to master its mysteries. Some aspire to become like the gods, shaping reality itself. Though the casting of a typical spell requires merely the utterance of a few strange words, fleeting gestures, and sometimes a pinch of or clump of exotic materials, these surface components barely hint at the expertise attained after years of apprenticeship and countless hours of study. So yeah, the wizards don't use magic mostly by just understanding materials and all the intricacies that go into them. Just being super big brain about stuff. But basically, they sound a lot like alchemists in general. I think an artificer is a class, a homebrew class you can have that is also an alchemist. And I think they use intelligence as their primary stat, which makes sense. I can also see why a lot of people really prefer some of the third-party classes, because it kind of rounds out some of the things. Like you have more than just one class, a wizard that uses an intelligence, because that is a little weird. Wizards live and die by their spells. Everything else is secondary. They learn new spells as they experiment and grow in experience. They can also learn them from other wizards, from ancient tomes and inscriptions, and from ancient creatures, such as the Fae, that are steeped in magic. I think I'm getting a general idea, though, why they settled on a lot of these things. So, going through this still helped me a bit. So, yeah, as much as I'm being a snarky butt about it. The lure of knowledge. Wizards' lives are seldom mundane. The closest as a wizard is likely to come to an ordinary life is working as a sage or lecturer in a library or university, teaching others the secrets of the multiverse. Other wizards sell their services or as diviners, serve military forces, or pursue lives of crime or domination. Okay, but the lure of knowledge and power calls even the most unadventurous wizards out of the safety of their libraries and laboratories and into crumbling ruins and lost cities. Most wizards believe that their counterparts in ancient civilizations knew secrets of magic that have been lost to the ages, and discovered those secrets could unlock the path to a power greater than any magic available in the present age. You know what? Be a wizard. Hey, can anyone there know if Morty is more of like a warlock? I think he's more of a warlock, actually. I don't think he's born with it. Steven's born with it. He got a gem in his belly button. And he's just making the best of it. I think this fits better. Yeah. Velma. We'll get to that in a moment. Alright, creating a wizard. Creating a wizard character demands a backstory dominated by at least one extraordinary event. How did your character first come in contact with magic? How did you discover you had an aptitude for it? Do you have a natural talent? Or do you simply study hard and practice incessantly? Do you encounter a magical creature or an ancient tome that taught you the basics of magic? What drew you forth to your life of study? Did your first taste of magical knowledge leave you hungry for more? Have you received word of a secret repository of knowledge not yet plundered by any other wizard? Perhaps you're simply eager to put your newfound magic skills to the test in the face of danger. Quick build. You can make a wizard quickly by following these suggestions. First, intelligence should be your highest ability score, followed by constitution or dexterity. If you plan to join the School of Enchantment, make charisma your next best score. Yeah, my watch is telling me I should get up and move. We'll be done with this shortly, and I'll probably come back and do something a little different. Especially because I'm just tired after all this, man. I'm tired. Gotta take a break from all this reading. Quickly by following these suggestions. First, intelligence should be your highest score. Yeah. Okay. School of Enchantment, make charisma your next best score. Second, choose the sage background. Third, choose the mage hand, light, and ray of frost cantrips, along with the following first level spells for your spellbook: Burning Hands, Charm Person, Featherfall, Mage Arbor, Magic Missile, and Sleep. Class features. As a wizard, you gain the following class features: hit points, 1d6 per, or hit dice, 1d6 per wizard level. Proficiencies: armor, none. Weapons: daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows. Tools: none. Saving throws: intelligence, wisdom. Yeah, all makes sense. Skills: choose two from Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion. I'm going to see what they explain with the spellcasting ability, which I think it already makes sense at this point. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for your wizard spells, since you learned your spells through dedication, study, and memorization. Yep. Use your intelligence whenever a spell refers to your spellcasting ability, etc. Okay, I think that's the last class that I had to go through. There's still more in this stuff, but I'll work on that more another time. There's so much to go through. Okay, so that's where we, next time I'll probably work on more chapter 8 adventuring. I might do that on stream still too. Spitball ideas with others too. Oh, but that's good enough for now. What I'm going to do quick is we're going to get, I think we'll do more multiverses even, but I also have that Resident Evil 4 rando I want to finish up, so I might do that. But before we, no, this still needs to be all the way, leave that there. So, let's try to finish up this list here, am I right? I was listening to Dave Matthews Band for a moment. Oh, I think I know this one. Hi, hold up, I need to. Like, can I zoom out of this a little bit? There we go. It's a little better. All right. What would? I mean, Finn is probably just. Finn's probably just a fighter, right? Yeah. Harley. What would Harley be? Oh, Tom and Jerry. Oh, would Tom and Jerry be? Am I right? I think he would be a ranger. Well, no, that's well, rogue. Uh, yeah, ranger sounds kind of good. Maybe a rogue. Actually, rogue. Rogue. Taz. I want to say barbarian. Barbarian or a monk. Uh, yeah, I think it's good. He's a barbarian. No, wait, is he? He a barbarian, guys? Got any second thoughts on that one? Harley. Technically, she got a lot of her ability from the Joker. Technically a warlock. You know, she's been excommunicated, but you know, power is a strong word. Black Adam. I don't know the lore exactly, but he's probably like a sorcerer. Jake. What would Jake be? Oh wait, Jake polymorphs. There we go. Druid, easy. LeBron. LeBron is what is LeBron, man? Yeah, he's a monk, right? Yeah, he's a monk. LeBron totally a monk, man. Stripe. I don't freaking know what Stripe is, man. What's is the one that's I mean it's probably up here? No. Wizard? Maybe rogue? He has a gun. He could be an evil ranger. I think he's an evil ranger. That dude crazy. Yeah. Yep, I think this is good. Yeah, I think it's good. Ship it. Yeah, let's ship it. Alright, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna go potty.